Hey everybody, Josh Searson, World Alternative Media here, and we're going to go into a whole bunch of news here today. Make sure to press like on this video and share it around, as it's the only way we'll actually reach anyone. And join us on float.app, flote.app, as well as check those links below for ways that you could help keep independent media alive. Anyway, we're going to go into a whole bunch of issues today that are just hitting the news left and right. It's impossible to avoid the insanity of the stock market crash, of coronavirus, and of course of things like the election, which I try to stay away from because it's just a bunch of, control freaks competing for slave master puppet. But nonetheless, it's in the news, and we should talk about it a bit, at least from an independent perspective. As many of you might know, and I've been in a fight with YouTube about this lately, they are only propping up major mainstream medias on YouTube and destroying all the independent medias, bankrupting us and making it impossible for us to function, which is why you guys need to join us on the alternatives. Anyway, press like on the video, and let's get into some news. As many of you may have seen, the Dow continues on its way down. It fell 969.58 points, or 3.58% today. And this comes after the Fed's emergency rate cut. This comes after, all this talk about not QE by Jerome Powell, all this talk about the greatest economy and the greatest stock market ever. And we've been warning about this for a long time. The coronavirus is just one thing to nudge the dominoes over to cause this collapse to really take effect. As this article out of Zero Hedge says, super puke. U.S. stocks crash as credit market and yields collapse. And as this article goes into, and please bear with me that I'm on my phone here. I have no choice. My laptop crashed a while ago. Need a new one. As it says, so much for the Biden bounce. Watching the markets today as the Dow plunges 1,000 points. Treasury yields collapse to record lows. Credit market imploded, and demands for more Fed intervention exploded. Has one veteran trade remarking, "This is becoming a super puke." Now, anyone that knows me knows that I'm disgusted by that word, and I wish they wouldn't use it. But look, they talk about the record lows of the treasury yields, which we've been warning about for a long time, and talking about more Fed intervention. More Fed intervention. That's exactly what's necessary to prop up a market that's already been propped up to exhaust by the Fed and is going to lead to vast inflation and going to cause a greater crash down the line. It's just people never learn. As it continues here, it says, it seems the stock market is stuffed with Fed intervention and just one wafer-thin mint. More may spark the total destruction of the markets. The market is in panic mode, demanding over 50 basis points more rate cuts in March as stocks collapse. And you could see the chart there. As it continues here, it says, credit spreads are exploding wider, decompressing. 9 out of the last 11 days, the biggest blowout since June 2013, now at their widest since 2016. And you can see this chart here as well. And continuing on here, it says, sending an ugly message to stocks. 10-year Treasury yields plunged to new record lows. And gold safe haven was aggressively bid. In fact, since the Fed enacted the emergency 50 basis point rate cut, gold is soaring as a dollar and stocks faded. And by the way, cryptocurrency broke apart today from the stock market crash. Look, this was over bubbled a long time ago, and it's been propped up. It was over bubbled at 20,000 Dow. And they're just propping it up more and more and more. It hits 30,000. It's ridiculous. There's no fundamentals there. Most of these companies are terrible. There is some good too, obviously some stocks, but the majority are bad. The fundamentals aren't there, and that's what is going to inevitably lead to something like this. Now, for those just joining us, make sure to press like on this video. Super chats go to the top. Really helpful. It's the only ththing that helps us stay alive. Internet says, dude, do you have a dry cough and sore throat? No, I had a lung infection about more than a month ago, and I have asthma, so I just It's bad. I'm stuck coughing constantly. Anyway, continuing on, it says, by the way, it's a really bad time to be coughing constantly because everyone thinks I have coronavirus. But I don't. Physical gold will soon break free from the paper market in spectacular fashion. And as it says here, not long ago, the idea of gold and silver market manipulation was considered the realm of conspiracy theory. I remember it well. Alternative economists and precious metals investors were often accused of wild imagination or bitterness when it came to long periods of stagnation in the markets. Despite a considerable amount of evidence to the contrary, our suspicions were not being taken seriously. Fast forward to 2019, which was the year of vindication for all gold bugs. Multiple banking entities had been implicated in gold and silver market manipulation, including JP Morgan. It was no longer a theory, now it was a fact. The problem is, whenever these institutions get caught illegally undercutting the market, they get a fine at most. Essentially, they receive a slap on the wrist and then go right back to strong arming metals. I want to cut in for a moment and say, as a matter of fact, we've been reporting on the gold-silver manipulation going back many, many, many years here at WAM, utilizing court cases that happened regarding Deutsche Bank, HSBC, BNP Paribas, Scotiabank, all these others that were caught red-handed, rigging the gold and silver markets and went to court over it and were found guilty. So I wouldn't say that it was completely considered conspiracy theory because, I mean, it was out in the open, obvious. And anyway, continuing on here, it says... I think it's important to note that when manipulation does occur, it is almost always to suppress prices, not to rally them. Why is that? Well, this is where we can only speculate, but there are a number of reasons why international banks and central banks would want to keep metal prices under control. For example, precious metals act as an investment competition against equities as well as currencies. Suppressed metal prices push investors into other assets like stocks or dollar, giving a temporary boost to flailing markets. And he goes into many bold points here. The agenda against gold might not always be designed to boost stocks or the dollar. However, I suspect in some cases the goal of the banking establishment is to increase pain by suppressing safe haven assets, cornering investors into stocks and weak currencies, and then crashing markets on their head. And I would agree. Carrying on here, it says... Zero Hedge says, we don't know what's going on. Wall Street admits is clueless. Well, you think? I mean, the people that do know what's going on are evil. The people that don't know what's going on are just the same old Keynesians that we've seen over and over again throughout history that learn nothing from the past and repeat it over and over again. I mean, well, as Mark Twain says, history doesn't repeat, but it certainly does rhyme. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already. It helps us with the algorithm and all of that. And guys, I'm fine. I have asthma and scarred lung tissue from pneumonia years ago. So when I get a cough, I end up with a cough for months and months. Happens every year. It's the way it is. It sucks. I'm having a bad day for it, but it's fine. Press like on the video. Super chats help. Seriously, they're the only things keeping us alive right now. So if you get $1 or more, or check the links below, anything helps. Carrying on here, it says... when the stock market was melting up virtually every day from the launch of QE4 until the end of January, Wall Street's expert strategists always had a ready explanation. Why? Solid earnings, strong fundamentals, traders climbing a wall of worry, a global economic rebound, inflation picking up, blah, blah, blah. Just not the Fed, never the Fed, as that would mean. Wall Street professionals as a group are now worthless in a world where only the Fed matters if stocks go up or down. In short, there was always a reason to keep buying the dip, even when there was no dip to buy. Carrying on here, it says, then everything changed, and starting in late February, the melt-up, which until that point even ignored the second guidance cut by AAPL in 13 months, ended with a bang and volatility exploded. Here, too, the experts were ready to explain what's going on. Traders are jittery. They are overreacting to the coronavirus. It's all the algo's fault. Traders are tumbling down the wall of worry. Oh, and once Powell eases, everything will be back to normal. Only Powell did ease. Only Powell did ease, and suddenly the narrative broke down completely when the S&P suffered not one but two 3% drops after the emergency 50 basis cut, sparking speculation that the Fed's bazooka is now a water pistol, and the U.S. central bank has been rendered powerless to restore the rally in the face of a microscopic viral nemesis. The one of the most likely created in a Chinese P-4 bioweapons lab. And so suddenly, the goal seeking narrative that was meant to explain not only what just happened, but what will happen, broke down as every explanation failed, Bloomberg put it best. Pessimism over Fed policy, optimism over government's response, pessimism over the government's response, the beige book, Joe Biden. The ink's barely dry on one view, and the market goes careening the other way. It's futile and infuriating, situation for investors and analysts. Forget about trying to predict where stocks will be in 6 months or a year. These guys can't even figure out where they'll be tomorrow. Everything depends on how the virus outbreak will play out, and nobody has a clue. So you can see the Dow daily points move here. And carrying on, as it says, negative rates in the U.S. are virtually guaranteed now. Well, Pew, you don't say. We've only been saying this to our viewers for years. We said they'd try to prop it up, but they'd be unsuccessful in propping it up much, and then they'd have to drop them out, and they keep dropping them out, and then they'll reach a crisis. And when they reach a crisis, then they're going to be forced into, even a worse crisis, because when you already are at low interest rates and you go into another crisis, then you're basically essentially screwed. I mean, think of it this way. Between 2008 and 2012, they dropped interest rates out 5.5%. They are so low right now, that would go into negative interest rates, and it's laughable if it wasn't so incredibly sad for so many people that are going to be suffering. Now, as a stock market collapses, they're going to print a bunch of money, try to pour it into the stock market, as we saw over this last week, off and on. And what's going to happen is going to be inflation. The price of living goes up, poverty increases, and then people are in an even worse situation. To internet who keeps asking me if he could call in. You can't call in. You can't. I have no way to have people calling in. I'm on my phone. It's just not going to work that way. But anyway, I send questions, send super chats, press like on this video, things like that help out, and I'll get to as many comments and questions as I can. Rolf Steiner says, Joe Biden forgot that he touched you, you lying dog-faced pony soldier. Okay. Let's see. Don H says, get well, Josh. Great update work. Thank you, Don. Lots more to come in this video. And Harrison RM says, send Australian $10. Thank you so much, man. I really, truly appreciate that. That's awesome. Says, hi, mate. Hope you're feeling better soon. Are you following Chris Matterson's work? Do you think the air is finally coming out of the bubble? Well, the air is definitely coming out of the bubble. It's about what the Fed does next, and I think the Fed is going to try and pump this, and they might temporarily put off the extent of the crash until later on, but it's all going to come down eventually. You can't stop it from happening, as we've been saying for years, and we've been unfortunately vindicated time and time again on this issue, and what happens is that they're going to print and cause inflation, and they might be able to prop it up even for a couple months, even for a year. I mean, and long term, the Dow is probably eventually going to hit 100,000 and even 1 million at some point, many years down the line. But short term, this bubble was inflated to the max 10,000 points ago. And they just kept printing. They saved it December 2018 from a complete collapse, and they just propped up the bubble more. And what happens is it gets heavier, and there's people holding it up on their shoulders, and eventually it gets so heavy it collapses on top of them and crushes them underneath. As far as getting better soon, I appreciate it. I have good days and bad days. It's been about a month of coughing, and it's really bad. But no, I don't have coronavirus. I appreciate the concern, everyone. And Chris Matterson, I'm going to have to look into him. I appreciate the suggestion, and I really, really, truly appreciate the super chats, because it's literally the only thing keeping Wham alive right now. The only thing. Seriously, there's nothing else that is keeping us afloat at the moment. Wolfgang Felix says, if oil and 10-year go down equals stocks go down. Sure, absolutely. Burnt Offering says, great to see you healthy again, Josh. Not too healthy, but I have asthma, and I had a lung infection a little while ago, which has just destroyed me this past month. This is why I try not to get sick ever. Internet, you cannot call in. I'm sorry, but you can't. Tobias Magnus says, why not Patreon? Absolutely. You guys can send in pledges on Patreon, Subscribestar, GoFundMe, all linked below in the description. We're going to get into more news right away here. Smart Crypto Bot says Canada is collapsing. Yeah, they have been as well. Anyway, let's get into the next story. Again, it's just so crazy because so many of the things that we're seeing pop up here are things that we've been predicting for years. And people just called us crazy. People were calling us crazy a couple of weeks ago when we said the stock market crash was imminent. Anyway, stocks and credit crater as 10-year treasury yields hit new record low, as the Zero Hedge article says. And by the way, I got a comment here from Alukia. When is the podcast with Sam Tripoli going to be in video form? It is already on Vimeo. It's just not yet on YouTube. They're working on that as fast as they can. But yeah, Tinfoil Hat podcast will be live on YouTube soon. And Freak Airways sent $10 in the super chat, says peace, love, and anarchy. Thank you so much, man. I really, truly, truly appreciate those. Again, those super chats are literally keeping us from going under right now. I'm selling all my possessions and moving overseas to small Airbnbs as a nomad, stuff like that, so I don't have bills and all that kind of stuff, so that I can continue making these videos for you guys, because this isn't about the money, it's about bringing you information. They're shadow banning us about 90% now, so no one can see our videos anymore, for the most part, the vast majority of people. And I mean, we have 170 viewers out of 138,000 people. Think about that for a second. That's not mathematically right. And we've been demonetized almost entirely. So you guys are keeping us alive. Pressing like helps a lot too. But I'm doing everything. I'm selling all my things so I can move overseas, so I can keep doing this, because I don't care if I'm homeless as long as I can bring people information. Be nice if I wasn't shadow banned too, though. So join us on float.app, flote.app. Anyway, as this article says, stocks and credit crater as 10-year treasury yields hit new record low. And as it goes into here, 10-year treasury yields have plunged back from yesterday's small bounce, breaking a new record low as 89 basis points. And as it continues here, and you can see the chart, and that has sent stocks reeling, erasing a majority of yesterday's gains. Well, go figure. It's back and forth every single day the last few days. Small caps and trannies have erased all of yesterday's gains. Not the kind of tranny you think. As it continues here, it says, meanwhile, credit has quietly blown out to its widest since 2016. And this is not a good sign, and the market is demanding a 54 basis point more rate cut in March. I have no doubt that that's going to happen. March Fed rate change priced in by market. Or else. Anyway, continuing on here. Finally, it says Zero Hedge. Fed is now trapped if Powell fails to taper, not QE. He will admit it was QE4 all along. And it was. Come on. Anyone with any basic form of understanding of economics knows that. Carrying on here, it says... The unexpected scramble by dealers to obtain repo funding in recent days has taken the market and especially stirred traders by surprise after all the primary catalysts behind the Fed's decision to emergency cut by 50 basis points was to ease financial conditions, and yet the record oversubscription in both term and overnight repos in the past few days confirms that, contrary to the Fed's expectations, market liquidity has in fact deteriorated sharply, and you could see this chart here. Continuing on, let me just pull this down here. It says, and yet as liquidity gets worse in response to the coronavirus market shock and paradoxically the Fed's rate cut, the Fed faces a conundrum. Will it continue tapering its repo operations and the permanent purchases of T-bills, as it promised previously it would, or will the Fed capitulate and no longer taper, but in fact boost the availability of these products? Herein lies the rub. If the Fed does in fact capitulate, as most expect it to do, it will be effectively admitting that not QE was in fact QE4 all the time, as this website and a handful of other Fed critics have claimed all along, and will make yet another mockery of all those finance hacks who, living in their mom's basements, claimed that the Fed's QE4 was not in fact QE4. Addressing precisely the issue on Thursday morning, BMO's rate strategist John Hill discusses a recent divergence in the 3-month bill OIS spread, and you could see that here. I'm not going to go any further into this article, but you guys get the point. So, fact of the matter is we are dealing with a massive calamity that we've been warning about for years. Now, I'd love to take credit and say, woohoo, I called it all along. But the fact is, this is going to affect millions of people. It's going to affect you. It's going to affect your family. It's going to affect your friends. It's about what you do about it that matters most. And obviously, they're playing this into the corona thing, and this was bound to happen anyway. The coronavirus is just one thing that helped, prompt this in the end. I mean, it was the nudge that the dominoes needed, as I said. And by the way, you can't talk about coronavirus on YouTube. If you do, you get demonetized and censored like crazy, like it's over the top. I mentioned coronavirus in a video, and the algorithm can tell that I'm saying in my video without even typing it in the description or title or anything, and they immediately demonetize it. They flag it. They stop it from being seen. It gets 500 views in the first 10 minutes, and then it gets 1,000 views after like 4 hours. I mean, it is excruciatingly annoying how bad they're censoring this topic. And it's a very confusing topic too, because it could go both ways, fear mongering as well as weaponization. As this article says, corona or demands for zombie apocalypse bunkers soar six-fold since coronavirus outbreak. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already and help support us any way you can. Check the links below, pledges, and all that kind of stuff. Super chats help a lot, but press like on the video. It helps a lot. And share on social media. As it says here, demand for Russian-made bunker houses marketed to withstand a zombie apocalypse have soared sixfold since the coronavirus outbreak. Well, at least some people are preparing, even if it's false. I like how there's a Cybertruck in this picture. Tesla Cybertruck. According to the creators of Cyberhouse, interest in the homes has gone global. Having had only 2 customers from America and Spain before January, since the turn of the year, there are 10 additional customers, with some from Italy, which has been hit hard by the coronavirus. And I quote, due to the large number of orders around the world, the bunker house has evolved from a one-time history into an architectural style, says Alex Vichevsky, chief architect of Modern House. Its main feature is the desire of the owner of this property to be protected from aggressive external influences. Now, this brings a whole new meaning to agoraphobia, in my opinion. And you can see one of their Instagram posts here. It says, the bunkers are made using cast concrete, bulletproof glass, and heavy-duty steel. For the Italian customers, biological protection systems will also be introduced. The cost of a bunker house, described as multi-level silo that accommodates 6 to 7 people, starts at 56 million rubles, roughly $843,000. As we highlighted earlier, an economic catalyst who predicted the 2008 financial collapse is concerned that coronavirus could cause another economic collapse and has stockpiled 18 months worth of food. And anyway, I'm going to go into this greater in a moment. And again, for those just tuning in, make sure to press like, send in super chats, check the links below, help us out any way you can. We really appreciate it. You guys are the only thing keeping independent media alive against these mainstream media behemoths that cover up for pedophilia and promote war and nonsense propaganda for people to eat up. No, I don't have coronavirus. I've been coughing for over a month from a lung infection, and I have asthma, so it just prolongs and it causes bronchial problems. Anyway, so I don't have coronavirus, trust me. Anyway, this is interesting. Iranian general, coronavirus is a man-made bioweapon. Josh Friedman says, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Come on. As it says, an Iranian military leader has suggested that the coronavirus is not a naturally occurring disease and that it is a man-made bioweapon cultivated and released again against China and Iran by a hostile state. Now, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I don't know. I mean, a bioweapon by China, a bioweapon by the United States. I mean, there's a lot of confusion about that. I mean, it shouldn't have spread at the rate that it did, but I believe that they're definitely weaponizing it to some extent. It's hard to believe otherwise. I mean, we're seeing it die off and then just blow up again all over the world, and it's mostly only hitting first world countries for the most part. And the effect on Iran has been drastic and just absolutely horrible. It's affected just a ridiculous amount of people in Iran, including some of the top leaders in Iran. And China, there's evidence that they've been covering up. So I don't know if it was against China or China was using it against someone else or something else. It broke out. I don't know what happened, but there's one way or another. China, I think, is actually involved in this cover up to a great degree. I don't think Iran is, but I mean, I'll go into evidence of that later on in this video once I get to it. But let's carry on with this article here. And by the way, again, press like on this video, it helps. As it says, Brigadier General Gholam Reza Jalali, an Iranian officer in charge of the country's civil defense organization, claimed Tuesday that, and I quote, a study of the consequences of the virus in terms of trolls or tolls, or trolls, of tolls on or the extent of the epidemic and the type of media propaganda over this issue that is aimed at increasing fear and panic among people strengthens the speculations that a biological attack has been launched against China and Iran with economic goals. Carrying on here as it says, it's hard to highlight everything with one hand, strongly hinting that the virus is a biohacking attack or a bioattack by the U.S. Jalali told Iranian Fars news agency state media that he is seeking laboratorial investigations and comparing the genome of the primary virus and the new genomes to confirm his theory. Iran has been accused of covering up the real extent of the outbreak within its borders. At time of writing, it has officially recorded only 92 deaths from 2,922 cases, but those numbers are significantly lower than what independent reports and claims from dissident groups within the country suggest. The real number of deaths is thought to be in the high hundreds of thousands. And of course, Iran has been pumping people with vitamin C supplements as well, which is what their state-run media has been showing. Carrying on here, it says, videos uploaded to YouTube by the dissident groups purport to show people collapsing in the streets of Tehran from the effects of the virus and the reminiscent of previous videos from China. They're very reminiscent indeed. As it continues, it says, the BBC published footage that is said to be from Iran showing hundreds of bodies in bags at a local morgue in Qom. Mideast-based correspondent Joyce Karam commented that if these are confirmed to be from Corona, as video claims, death toll is higher than the government claims. And you could see this tweet here by Joyce Karam saying exactly what I read above. Other videos show preparations for mass graves and health workers in full hazmat gear burying victims. And this is the thing, guys. I mean, there's a cover-up and then there's fear-mongering, and it's hard to choose between which one it is. And I don't think it's black and white like that. I think that it's met in the middle somewhere. It's a bioweapon that is being fear-mongered to keep people subservient, all the while actually killing a ridiculous amount of people and more than people are, actually claiming. Though at the same time, a lot of the people that are being affected, most of them are very, very old. So there's also that to take into account here. As it says, Iranian dictator Ayatollah Khamenei issued a statement Tuesday urging that the jihad against coronavirus is proving successful and that the outbreak is not such a big tragedy. And I quote, I don't want to say it's unimportant, but let's not exaggerate it either. The coronavirus will affect the country briefly and leave, but the experience it brings and the actions of the people and the government sectors are like a public exercise that will remain as an achievement, Khamenei said. The idea that the virus originated in a lab has been a talking point ever since the outbreak started, with some U.S. officials and Western biological experts expressing concern that coronavirus may be a Chinese bioweapon. And of course, that story has been around for a while now. Essentially, there was a virus in a lab in the Netherlands, and it was transferred to a Winnipeg, Canada lab. Of course, my hometown is Winnipeg in Canada. And then it was transferred by a Chinese couple, stolen, and brought to China, and then used to create a bioweapon in China. Anthem Blanchard is joining us. Hey, how's it going? So I believe that 100% there's that mixture of fear-mongering, and there's a mixture of propaganda, and there's a mixture as well of cover-up here, where they're not actually talking about the full extent of this issue. It's hard to tell because, I mean, the U.S. government is going to do whatever they can to make Iran look bad, and so is U.S. news media, but so is, Iran also, Khamenei also is going to say things to make his country look good. So it's kind of like you're on the fence there. You can't just pick one or the other. You have to just understand that we don't exactly know the full extent, but we know that lies are being told one way or another. Carrying on here, it says, Mike Adams joins Alex Jones live via Skype to confirm that the coronavirus is a bioweapon released by the Chinese Communist government to destroy the United States economy. Now, it continues here. One U.S. official who hasn't shied away from probing the bioweapon angle is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, who has stated several times that Beijing needs to address the questions and that the burden of proof is on the communists to explain where the virus came from. And a lot can be said about that I would absolutely agree with. Anton Blanchard wrote, maybe someone sold test animals from the nearby Wuhan lab to the animal market. Would make sense why the market was destroyed so quickly. That's absolutely a huge possibility. And I want to get into some of the cover-ups here. There's an interesting article that I came across, again, on Zero Hedge, that I'll put it up on the screen in just one moment. Again, if you're just joining us, make sure to press like on the video. It helps a lot. And super chats, seriously, guys, it's the only thing keeping us alive right now. So we really hope anyone checks the links below, GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, or send super chats, because it's what keeps independent media alive from being suffocated by the shadow banning and the demonetization, which is part of the censorship campaign that regards what we're seeing right now with coronavirus. Carrying on here, this says, fake, everything is fake. Wuhan residents heckle Vice Prime Minister during public relations stunt. Oh, Winnie the Pooh. As it says here in this article, while coronavirus continues to rapidly spread throughout the world, officially having infected nearly 100,000 people and killing 3,347, as of this writing, China has reported a steady decrease in the number of new cases, insisting they've got the outbreak under control within their borders. Why anyone believes the official numbers coming out of Beijing is anyone's guess, as the official numbers coming from the CCP have been long divorced from reality based on early reporting from crematoriums operating at capacity and healthcare workers reporting deaths in provinces that had no official fatalities. Earlier today, we reported on empty factories which have been ordered to appear as though they're operating. And I'm going to quickly pull that up to show you an example of that here on Zero Hedge. As you can see, this article that they're talking about. The lights are on, but no one's working. How China is faking a coronavirus recovery. But anyway, as this article here continues, so it should come to no surprise that skeptics of the CCP's attempts at narrative shaping, including none other than the residents of Wuhan, ground zero of the COVID-19 outbreak. During a visit to a Wuhan apartment complex in a public relations stunt, China's Vice Prime Minister Sun Chunlan was heckled by residents from the apartments who shouted, "Fake, everything is fake." And none of those people were ever seen again. Continuing on here, as you can see here, today, Vice Prime Minister Sun Chunlan visited Wuhan, Kingshan Kaiyuan resident community. It's meant to be a PR show. Residents were not allowed to come out, but things went out of control. They started shouting, "Fake, everything is fake." I would play the videos, but YouTube would just take down my channel these days. You can't even use fair use anymore. Anyway, carrying on, it says, you could see a bunch of videos on Zero Hedge regarding the Vice Prime Minister showing up. And it says here, if it's all fake, what's the truth? It's a good question. What is the truth? Well, anyway, moving on here as we see Zero Hedge. The worst is yet to come. Nomura sees as many as 1.5 million COVID cases by June. Now, it's interesting because, and by the way, press like on this video if you haven't already. It helps a lot, and super chats go to the top and all that. We really appreciate it. Anyway, what's interesting is that we saw that Harvard professor say not long ago that he was an epidemiologist. He said that 70% of the world by the end of this outbreak will have had coronavirus. Now, of course, there's many kinds of coronavirus. This is novel coronavirus, or COVID-19 as they call it. There is a lot to be said about that being fear-mongering, as well as the other Harvard professor that just said yesterday that people are overreacting and not to worry so much about it. Well, which is it? You're getting mixed signals from everywhere. There's cover-ups while there's fear-mongering. There's also all the protests are drying up. Hong Kong, the only protests I'm really seeing in the world right now are in Greece. Otherwise, the protests in Paris, Hong Kong, Chile, Argentina, the protests in Germany, the protests all over the world in Spain have just dried up. Why? Why is that? We should all be asking why has this happened at the perfect timing for all these protests to dry up? And I think that honestly, the answer is that there is a mixture of fear mongering and a cover up and a weaponized disease that also helps with depopulation. It also helps with the economy as far as Social Security goes. I mean, getting rid of a lot of older people, and that's another thing. Everywhere you look in the news, all these people die from in Washington State from coronavirus, and then you look into it, and it's like, huh, they're almost all from old folks' homes and retirement homes. They're not talking about that context, but anyway, there's been a case found in Nevada as well, through LA and New York and all that kind of stuff. It's totally crazy. Also gives the government an excuse to do martial law, and people are volunteering to go into FEMA camps, guys. As this says, new images emerge of America's first COVID-19 quarantine village. And as the article says, we noted earlier this week that King County Chief Executive Dow Constantine, that's an interesting name, said the final negotiations to purchase a motel and convert it into a COVID-19 quarantine village were underway. On March 4th, Como Seattle's Matt Markovich confirmed that the first permanent quarantine village in Washington state for COVID-19 will be the Econo Lodge in Kent. We also believe the city of Seattle and King County will establish 3 modular quarantine villages, West Seattle and North Seattle. Well, whatever happened to Jade Helm, the conversions of Walmarts? Whatever happened to, I mean, on the East Coast, there's been stories of people volunteering to go into FEMA complexes, or what some people will call FEMA camps. Interesting how that's all happening right now. It just, who benefits? Everyone should always say cui bono, who benefits, and follow the money. As it continues in this article here, it says it's believed that King County officials paid upwards of $4 million for the 84-unit motel on Central Avenue. And, man, make sure to send in your questions, guys, and press like if you haven't already, and send super chats because it's what's keeping us alive. We're going to move on to our next story soon, but let's talk a little bit about coronavirus. Send in your questions. I'm going to get into as much of it as I can before we move on to elections, before YouTube shuts down this live stream, which they like to do often here, so I got to be careful. In fact, time to plug in my phone just in case. They've been slowing down my phone batteries so it dies after like an hour of use, and the phone just overheats and dies, and it's not an old one. There's been lawsuits over this. Anyway, Rika the Hopeful Volunteer said they're already in a FEMA camp. I'm sure there's already lots of that, absolutely. Rolf Stoner says, yes, stock up now. I agree. Stocking up is incredibly important at this point. And it always has been. Like, see, this is a point. People wait till there's runs on these stores to start stocking up. I mean, at that point, you should have already been stocked up. That's the whole idea of being prepared. It's better to be overly prepared than underprepared. It's not about fear. It's about solutions. It always is. Silver Slave 333 says, stack some silver. Rika, the Hopeful Volunteer, says it's called the USA. Yeah, well, that as well. It is turning into a prison anyway, isn't it? RV Theriet says, keeping you alive. Seriously? Swampy McGee says, Taylor Swift, I forgot that you existed. What is with these comments? Vernell Ellie says, why stock up? Go to a store with crowds of potentially get the virus. Or, you could order from Amazon, where the facilities are in Seattle, where there's an outbreak, and people at the Amazon facilities are coming down with coronavirus. Silver Slave 333 says, you're coughing, bro. Yeah, I know, I am. I've been coughing for over a month now. It's not coronavirus, I guarantee you. I have scar tissue on my lungs, I have asthma, and I had a cough a month ago, which translates into many months of coughing. Harrison RM sent a super chat. Thank you so much again. Seriously, man. Really, truly appreciate it. You are putting food on the table and keeping this operation up and running by sending those super chats. It means, seriously, it means the world to us. You wrote, he sent Australian $10 in the super chat. Says, check Mike Maloney's interviews with Chris Matterson, Chris's website, Peak Prosperity. Oh, right. So I saw that pop up on my feed a couple hours ago, and I was definitely going to check that out. So I'll be checking that after the stream tonight. Peters S says, what do you think about Greece? I would say that it's a beautiful country. Athens has gone into a really second worldish type city, and there's still the recession is still affecting them. There's an insane amount of crime in the big cities, but elsewhere it's really peaceful. It's really sad because it's another example of government utilizing people or taking advantage of people and hurting people, pushing them to poverty, and the EU printing currency, causing inflation, and pushing people further into poverty on top of the taxes and regulations in Greece. Lord Humongous says, Josh, back in Winnipeg? No, I'm in Las Vegas. Again, I really appreciate the super chat. Harrison really makes a big difference. Rainy Steps sent Canadian $2.79 in the super chat. Says, hello, for some cough drops. Thank you very much. I do have some cough drops, but they weirdly make it worse. But I will spend that on part of a healthy meal. So I really appreciate that. We're doing what we can to stay alive here. A donor is sending me out to Guatemala later this month, and the weather should help me. The dry weather in Las Vegas isn't helping me much. I'm going to be investigating pyramids in Guatemala. Sabrina Rayenga says, brother, pay attention to that which you are taking within you on all levels of your being. What you take in can heal you or kill you. Your body tells you what it likes. Pay attention to it. I 100% agree. Um, Surf Sailor sent $5 in the super chat and says all care facilities should implement drive-through testing. This avoids waiting room petri dish conditions. I know, right? Isn't that kind of super stupid and weird? Like, oh, I think I have the coronavirus. Let's go into a hospital. Like 50 people all think they have the coronavirus, and then some poor woman that is having like chest pains goes in there, and then she gets coronavirus, and like it just spreads to the nursing homes. It's just ridiculous. It's not the smartest, and I mean, we are in the healthiest time as far as cleanliness and hygiene, but one of the stupidest times when it comes to outbreaks because there's a huge, we're in an international community today. But again, thank you so much, Surf Sailor, for that super chat. Seriously, again, those super chats are what is keeping us up and running here at Wham. And I know I say that a lot, but I mean it. It means a lot to us because I'm selling all my possessions and moving overseas to be basically homeless for over a year in order to continue making these videos because YouTube has demonetized us, censored us, and shadow banned us to the point where we almost can't go on anymore. In fact, I'm so far in the negative right now. It's crazy. I'm just trying to sell all my stuff and get out of this country so that I can survive. It's not about making money. It's about bringing you guys information. And they're stopping me and restricting me from bringing you information today. So I got to do whatever I can to break out of that and do this kind of stuff and continue bringing information because I believe in it. It's a passion. And I don't negotiate with terrorists. And that's what these entities, these monetary terrorists on YouTube really are. And they're Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, coming in and saying that they're shadow banning 70% of controversial content and stopping it from being seen, but they're propping up mainstream media's Fox News, CNN, MSNBC against us. And it's so, oh man, it's just so terrible. It's something that I don't know if we'll be able to get past for many more months here at Wham. At any moment, this channel will be taken down 100%. Everything's auto demonetized the second I press publish. So that's why those super chats are what are so important. That's the only thing keeping us up and running right now. So anyway, continuing on here, Stephen A says, how long until the Canadian healthcare system collapses? It can't be too long, man. I mean, we're talking about a system that's built up on government and propping up major pharmaceutical rackets. It's terrible. I'm going to get into more stories right now, so let's get going here. We have this article out of Zero Hedge, which says Elizabeth Warren drops out of presidential race. Well, we were waiting for that school marm to get lost, and here we are. Make sure to press like on this video if you haven't already, and share it on social media to help us get more viewers because they're not showing the majority of people on YouTube. And, you know, this plays into a bigger story that I'm going to get into right away. But first, I just want to mention this article here, and it shows an update at the top. Bernie Sanders has offered a few kind words about his colleague turned rival Elizabeth Warren, despite the intense acrimony that of the past few months. Well, it's all politics and it's all fake and it's all just a show to appease the masses. It's all one giant bread and circus event today. It's all entertainment. They used to distract us from politics. Now the bread and circuses is a politics. And Elizabeth Warren delivered some remarks after she dropped out. She didn't, no sign of big structural Bailey, her giant blow up dog that people sing songs to. Oh man, I mean, it's just so annoying. Elizabeth Warren's one of the most annoying people I've seen in recent years in politics. Not the most evil, but one of the most annoying. And remember, she wanted to get a 9-year-old trans kid to pick her in one of her ministers or one of her advice. I don't know. It's so stupid. It's just I'm gonna get into this at a greater to a greater extent right away. Make sure to press like. We got a bunch of links set up here. First, I do want to say thank you to Wasabi Ninja for sending $6 in the super chat. Means a great deal to us. Again, seriously, incredibly important to us. For you guys to be supporting us in the way you do, it means a lot. He said, "Become brave browser verified already. Look into Wim Hof breathing technique. It kickstarts your automatic nervous system and boosts your immune system." Absolutely, I have been looking into that quite a lot, and I have been trying to get with Brave for a while. I'm confused by it. People were saying they're gonna hook me up with it, and then it just never happened. And then I've just been busy making videos all day, every single day, like all day, every day, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, and trying to figure out my money problems, which is that I don't have any, and I'm trying to do this media, so it's just really it's been rough. But anyway, Gypsy Road says we should all support each other. Channel, yeah, absolutely. We should all be supporting each other in any way possible. Pressing like on the video helps, and checking those links below from crypto, different cryptocurrencies. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, where we do subscriber-only content, and finding us on Float.app. That's flote.app. The future of social media, replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted private messaging, or monetization, I should say, on videos, and of course, live streams with super chats in crypto, and a pledge, a way for you to pledge. And on top of that, we've got no algorithm on Float. So I'm at Josh Sigurdsson as well as at Wham on there. Please join. It's important. It's the only way we're going to get past this. What was it? Nice hash login says, why don't you make another channel? I'm planning on it, but honestly, YouTube's done and it won't last much longer, and they're only propping up mainstream medias. Anyway, let's get back to this election nonsense. So as it says, a PBS reporter was apparently in the room when Warren broke the news to her staff that she was ending her presidential bid after her weak performance on Super Tuesday. And it says, Warren remarks to her staff, I love you guys too. I want to start with the news. I want all of you to hear it first, and I want you to hear it straight from me today. I'm suspending our campaign for president. What, Paul Busby says, you sound crook, bro. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know what that means. But this comes after Mike Bloomberg also dropped out. And as Donald Trump wrote, I hate that he's so funny. He says, Mini Mike Bloomberg just quit the race for president. I could have told him long ago that he didn't have what it takes, and he could have saved himself $1 billion, the real cost. Now he will pour money into Sleepy Joe's campaign, hoping to save face. It won't work. And he mentioned at one point that Mike Bloomberg spent $1 billion, and all he got was the nickname Mini Mike. It's funny, but, you know, presidents are presidents. Anyway, carrying on, it says, Buttigieg and Klobuchar endorse Biden, aiming to slow Sanders. This is the interesting thing, because there's obviously an attack on Sanders. You know, I'm not a fan of Sanders. I'm not a supporter of Sanders. But it's just the fact that we have all these people dropping out at the same time to endorse Biden, because that's what the script says. That's always what the script said. They were talking about Biden running for president back in 2013, and after his son died, he said that he was considering it later on when he went on, talk shows. And then going into this election, we all knew that, Biden was going to run. And now he's running, and he's making all these gaffes. It's like he doesn't want to win. He's saying, I'm going to raise taxes on all of you. He said that at a recent campaign. He's calling people dog-faced pony soldiers. He's sniffing kids as per usual. He's doing all the usual stuff. They seem to want him specifically for reasons of war and all that kind of stuff. They always kind of go for an anti-establishment candidate, which would make sense with Bernie Sanders, but obviously growing government doesn't help the establishment, or doesn't end the establishment. It helps the establishment, creates more problems, steals more from people. The economics are completely nonsense. And then you have the war issue, because Bernie Sanders is largely anti-war, not fully, but largely. And what comes from that is that they have to convince them, they have to show them the silver bullet, all that stuff. It's a big task. It's easier to convince idiots of Biden and get people to support Biden. And when you support Biden, you'll get the warmonger that Obama was. He dropped more bombs than any president in history. But playing him against Trump, I mean, I can't see Biden winning over Trump at all. At all. I mean, Biden going around sniffing women and groping women and all that kind of stuff, and then versus Trump, who's the ultimate troll, who's going to use all that to his advantage. It's all nonsense. It's all a bunch of slave masters, basically running against each other in order to become the top puppet slave master. But nonetheless, it's obvious that there's a coordinated effort, that all these candidates drop out at the same time, and endorse Biden. And even though Biden was doing terribly, like Biden was doing terribly in the primaries originally, and then suddenly all these candidates drop out and they boost him up. It just seems so incredibly rigged as always. And I always said you don't need to rig elections anymore. You can just tell the public to repeat after me. But people have separated themselves from that so much lately to such a great extent that I think they're back to having to rig elections. Though with on YouTube basically shadow banning and demonetizing and censoring anyone that talks about the election in an alternative light. There are obviously a lot of dissidents that have been pulling away from the mainstream media, but a lot of people are being forced right back into it because they have no other choice. They can search up my videos, the full title, and not find them, and only see Fox News and CNN. So obviously, there's a concerted effort there as well. Anyway, I hate elections. You know how I feel about this stuff. I hate geopolitics because it's all just a competition to enslave humanity in one version of collectivism or another. And it's nonsense, and it's not efficient, and it's illogical, and it's immoral. It's wrong. And it's such an old-fashioned idea. It's such a worn-out, old-fashioned idea that people must be slaves, that people must be run by these government officials, that people stop believing every election more and more so, and catch on to their tricks more and more so. And then you have the inconsistent people that say they're libertarians and then support Trump, or say they're libertarians and then support Bernie, and then, just settle for comfort over consistency. It goes on endlessly forever, and we need to break free from that system of enslavement, that system of slavery. We need to do it as fast as possible before we end up further enslaved into a technocratic superstate out of China, utilizing coronavirus to basically force people in subservience and beg the government for help, even though the government created probably the issue in the first place, the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat for eternity, and then cause people to get on their knees begging for more government to save them from government, because people, again, are more likely to support comfort and apathy over, being loud and being uncomfortable, but being right and consistent. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in today, and that's why we need to break free and live by example and live freely and not end up with martial law and vaccines forced in our arms and this coronavirus madness scaring us to the point where we are subservient to the state that created it in the first place. Gypsy Road says, come on, people, give more thumbs up. I agree. Press like on this video if you haven't already. It helps out a lot. Let's get the likes above 200 because, we have 193 people watching. Surely lots of you can press like. I appreciate everyone that supports. Pressing like helps support. And also sending super chats and sharing the video on social media makes a great deal of difference as well. Dr. Mike says, Josh, I sent Tim P some great products and ideas to help earn money from your awesome channel. I appreciate that. I'll talk to Tim right away about that. I really appreciate any help we can get here. Shinobi Wan said, yo to you as well. I appreciate everyone joining us. Lord Humongous says, one for Josh too. I must have missed something. But anyway, Paul Busby says, pre-Rabbly autoflower has all three canna species. All right. I've been looking into all the herbal possibilities. DT says, have you tried fasting yet? It also helps with finances. I should get back to it myself. Get better, man. Yeah, I would love to fast. The problem is for like the first little while, I get really stupid and I can't make videos, which means I go broke anyway. Jenny Groudon says, do the bunny suits come in blue? What? Marshmallow Duck says, hi, Josh. Hello to you as well. Thank you for joining us. AB says, yeah, 154. Lord Humongous says, smoke some good weed. No, I have asthma. I just had a lung infection and I'm still coughing, and I'm also allergic to weed. So that happened from food poisoning a couple years ago. My body reset, and I woke up one day just allergic to weed. It was terrible. Angela Gabrielle says, "Love your shows. Hi from Canada. Hello to you as well, fellow Canadian. Glad to see you here. And make sure to press like, everyone, if you haven't already. It helps us out a lot." Face Value says, "Hello. Hello to you." A bunch of people are suddenly tuning in here almost an hour in, as YouTube only usually shows people after the fact. Chris Japansky says, "Josh, is Las Vegas sold out of toilet paper?" Not that I've seen. I hope not. Anyway, we got more. So bloodletting? No, I'm not going to do any bloodletting anytime soon. I'm not Ben Franklin. Gypsy Road says, "Thanks, Simple. Love all the support." Face Value says, "I smoke weed like every day." Yeah, I mean, I had at one point. I can't these days. Besides, I'm way less productive if I do that. Liza Jean Williams sent $2 Canadian in the super chat. Says, "Will you have a members option on YouTube?" I want to make that a possibility. I'm not sure if there's a reason for it though, because I mean, YouTube's basically just destroying us right now, and we're probably not going to be on YouTube much longer. Which is why I tell people to go to float.app, flote.app, again at Josh Sigurdsson, as well as Wham, WAM. Because I mean, YouTube has shadow banned us to the point where it's like every year we make, or every month we make half the money of the last month in monetization. We're down to almost nothing, and they've shadow banned us to the point where even if we interview a major guest, we can't get any views on it. Like I interviewed Sam Tripoli, who runs a comedy store, who made the careers of some of the top comedians in the world, and he has the Tinfoil Hat podcast, which reaches just a ridiculous amount of people. Thousands of people subscribed from the podcast I was on there to Wham, and then it still got like 1,800 views. It took like 6 hours to hit 1,000 views out of 138,000 subscribers. It's sickening, and he shared it to hundreds of thousands of people on Twitter as well. It's like, we are so shadow banned, it's ridiculous. But I mean, we can look into a members only option. We're on Subscribestar for that reason. You could pledge on Subscribestar for $5 or more a month and get subscriber only content, as well as I'm going to release I have released my JFK documentary that was banned from YouTube on there as well. So you can watch my banned it without telling me. And you could find us on GoFundMe and Patreon and all that kind of stuff. All those help. Pressing like on the videos and sharing helps as well. My phone seems to be glitching out here. Brian Ward says, "Hello from New Zealand, Josh. Keep up the good work." Thank you for joining us. Awesome. Polski Honor says, "Hi from Poland." Hi to you as well. Appreciate you joining us, guys. Really great to see everyone. Gordon Farkas sent 14.99 in the super chat. 14.99 Australian. Thank you so much again. Really, really, truly appreciate it. Says, "Keep up your awesome work, Josh. Bankrupt and brainwash Australia appreciates you." I truly, truly appreciate you as well, honestly. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without you guys sending super chats, GoFundMe, Patreon, all that kind of stuff. I mean it when I say you guys literally are what keeps this media up and running. Zakumaru TV says, "YouTube is being disgusting. Hope it falls soon." I agree. I just shouted at them over an email today. WTF Radio says, "Enjoyed this. Hi from the UK." Hi to you as well. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to me at the account Josh Sigurdsson on YouTube as well. Josh Sigurdsson on YouTube. I'll bring it up on the screen here, so you can see. This might end at any random point here because my phone's glitching out to the max right now, and I can't even tell if you're seeing things properly over there. But hopefully it doesn't shut down before I show this on YouTube on the screen. So you could type in Josh Sigurdsson on YouTube, and you will find this channel here. So go over to that channel, subscribe. It's my vlog channel, and I appreciate it because I'm going to be posting more on there. And I'm also starting a podcast soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to release information on the channel. It's going to be a different channel. And I might start a travel channel too on YouTube very shortly. Alex Torres sent $5 in the super chat. He says, "I'm going to Bautista bomb the CEO of YouTube in your honor, Josh." What does Bautista mean? As long as you don't do anything violent in my honor, I appreciate calling them out. Really do. It's keeps on connecting me. So I have to go, guys. I really appreciate everyone joining us. Press like on this video if you haven't already. You guys are amazing. You guys keep us alive. Check the links below, all of the links below. We have lots of options for how you can save us and save us all from being propagandized only by the mainstream media, by a monopoly of networks. We need you guys now more than ever. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you, everyone. You guys are amazing. And I'll see you guys soon. We'll be posting lots in the near future. Check back to our channel. Bookmark our channel on YouTube so you can go back to it, because YouTube might hide it from the searches and might not show you the latest videos. By far, they definitely won't, as a matter of fact. So thank you so much. Patreon pledges are very, very much appreciated. I have to stress that. We need $1 or more a month can save us from being destroyed. So just anything helps, guys. I hate to say this over and over again, but we need you guys. We really do. We're at the end of our line here. Paul Harrison says hashtag float. I agree. Join float, guys. FLOTE.app. FLOTE.app. Makes a huge difference as well. Join me at Josh Searson as well as at Wham. I'm on Instagram as well as World Alternative Media, and I'm on Twitter as World Alt Media, and I'm on BitChute at World Alternative Media, and I'm on Minds at World Alternative Media. Find us on all the places and stuff. Press like on the video, guys. Get it above 200. John Norris is good on a good one, Josh. Thank you. Fellow Canadians, says Lord Humongous. Absolutely. Talk to you guys soon. Until next time, this is Josh Searson signing. Wait a second. Let me put my laptop down. This is Josh Searson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth. Be the change.